we can talk awesomeness about Buscemi. So it is what it is. So here we go. Buscemi is the best. Welcome everyone to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. Andre just joined us. Here we go. Thank you for joining us today as we finish we're continuing on our series of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. John, what was the title of that episode?
Truth.
There we go. So I am
One word title.
Easier for John. So I am your host, Stupe. With me, as always, are the owners and proprietors of the Heroes World store in Markham, Ontario. That would be John and Andre. Please say hello.
What's up, folks?
Oh.
And of course, we are joined by our resident Prince of Mischief, Mr. Rob Gadet.
Hey, everybody. Andre, quick question. Does Tom Cruise, is he lying in a gutter somewhere and you stole his threads? Look at you. You look like you just rocked off the set of Top Gun 2, bro.
No, I was sporting this in honor of my Anthony Mackie, back from the original Winter Soldier with his super dry jacket. I don't have the same one, but man, oh man, is that guy killing it.
All right. Well, not as much as Steve Buscemi. So let's talk about Steve Buscemi.
Showing up in next episode, the next cameo.
Next episode,
the next surprise cameo.
As we talk about how awesome it is. Gosh darn it. I'm gonna go on a tangent and talk about a particular HBO show that Steve Buscemi starred in.
Wait, now I want to know what Steve Buscemi what character would he be in the Marvel universe?
I'm gonna say power broker. Let's set him out as a power broker. That's
Steve
what I want to know.
Buscemi turns around in the chair.
Yeah, turns around in the chair. It's like, oh, Buscemi.
Putting on the lipstick from that Adam Sandler movie, just crossing names off.
It would work. It still works. Yeah. So here we are, episode 5, a review of the episode. So John, as we move forward and we put a pause on how great Steve Buscemi is, walk us through this episode.
We'll be back to him on the next podcast.
On helpful summary, non-spoilery, with no adjectives, both positive and negative. Go.
I could totally go in the opposite direction for this, but all right. So in episode 5, we hit the ground running, both figuratively, if I could talk, and literally. So Falcon and Winter Soldier and the new Captain America face off in the events directly following the previous episode, which I didn't see coming. And as a result of Cap's actions, all our heroes are pretty much put on ice as Carly takes her band of flag smashers and regroups. So Sam returns home to help his family with the boat and business that was established back in episode 1. And he also makes a short stop before going home to kind of get some answers and ask some questions. Bucky goes to finish his unfinished business with the Wakandans and happens to cash in a favor as well. And John Walker just has to deal with the consequences of what he's done. And this all sets up the stage for our final episode.
Fantastic. Beautiful. Now, John, up to you now, as the next gimmick is John's questions. Can you please enlighten us with your pontifications and thoughts of...
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have time to put together a list again, but
what? Every week it's not questions. This is the gimmick where I'm like lining you up. It's like, here, John, here's your thing, and every time,
it's you know what just happens, Stu? We are the football in Charlie Brown. That's what just happened. Thanks a lot, John.
Wow. Okay.
It's okay. You guys can don't worry, it's here for you to kick. But yeah, if you told me in an episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier I was gonna like almost cry like 3 times, like this is a crazy episode. You open this episode with this epic level fight, which I'm gonna kind of come back to, which already kind of like, I don't know how many I'm gonna make a new chair and it's gonna have like 6 edges of the seat that you can move to while watching this show, apparently. So like that fight, crazy. I'm gonna circle back to that.
Like a hexagon chair?
Yeah, I don't know what it would be like different
a stool.
steps or something.
It would have to be a stool.
Yeah.
It couldn't have a backing unless it was in the middle. This is a weird. Okay,
I don't know. I'm gonna cook up the design later, so don't worry about it.
I'm gonna make a stool and I'm just gonna keep turning it.
Yeah.
It's gonna have edges that pop out from the bottom for you to sit
John,
on.
isn't the correct line is you'll pay for the whole seat, but you'll only use the edge? Isn't that?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, Stu. That's gonna be
Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyways, yeah. So I was like, yeah, the fight, you're already on the edge of your seat, and then Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson goes to visit Isaiah Bradley, and he kind of he goes like, hey, you know what? Sit down, I'm gonna tell you the story, and then you're on your edge of your seat again. And then he goes home and goes to the whole boat with his sister and everything like that. And at that point, I was like, okay, at the end of the Cap fight, I was like, okay, we're good, we're done. It could end here. We could stop here. We've got kind of like everything's kind of ironed out, kind of. There's a bunch of things in the air, and then they continue with the episode. So I'm like, okay, good. And then they go back to Anthony Mackie's home, and I'm like, oh, I could watch this show. Chilling in, I don't know if they established where exactly it is. Is it New Orleans? I know
somewhere in the south. Yeah,
I know Anthony Mackie is from New Orleans, so I don't know if they said it in New Orleans, but it looks like a small town. I'm like, I could watch this show with them chilling about, and Bucky shows up to help around the house. Like that was cool. And then you have like the next speech between Falcon and or Sam Wilson. I don't know what they call people. They call them by the actor, call them by the superhero name, call it by whatever the code name is, but you have the discussion between him and his sister. Like that's another like cool speech. And then at the end of the episode, you have the whole training montage, the Rocky training montage, and the speech between Bucky and Falcon. And you're like, holy crap, they're just like, I know a lot of people have criticized that this episode was maybe a little slower on the action and the plot. They kind of drew it out, but I really appreciated like all this deeper look into the characters. And I'll circle back to that Captain America fight now. We are getting movie level fight choreography on a TV screen, which is, I don't know if we truly appreciate what's going into this. Like for a fight choreographed scene to take place in like John Wick or whatever motion picture, they have months to work on this. For something like a Falcon and Winter Soldier, they probably had like a day, maybe, or maybe even like a part of a day.
Yeah,
So
they had more time than that.
I don't know.
Don't give them that much credit.
It's definitely shorter. It's definitely shorter.
This is a 6-week shoot. This is like they have time. This is not 22 episodes. So I have to say something differently. When it comes to Arrow, they have 22 episodes at the film and like amount of turnaround, but this is 6 weeks or 6 episodes, and they can take a little more time. So I don't give them a full pass of like, look how much they like. If you were on that schedule,
they accomplish a lot compared to what we're used to seeing in a movie. So I think they definitely delivered a movie style level choreographed fight in a TV element, which we don't truly get. And I'll shout out because we've fun done me a couple of times. Anthony Mackie's stunt performer, Aaron Toney, who's been with him for pretty much his entire Falcon career, as well as Altered Carbon and all kinds of movies. He actually announced his retirement after this project. So shout outs to him for helping create this character. He's a Taekwondo guy, so all the flips and things that you see Falcon do is all him in wire work. So he actually says when he does that Falcon, that aerial that he does with the flip kick, he destroys his ankles when he lands from that, because that's all a wire and he's being like unwound and stuff like that. So I do want to shout out the amount of work that's going into the show and the fact that guy, I hope he does, maybe come out of retirement and come back if they're doing season 2, because it'll be a shame to not see this character do the same type of movement. But I just wanted to shout him out, and I'll let everyone else do the heavy lifting on the rest of the episode.
It's Louisiana, somewhere untold. So they've never said where in Louisiana, but it is Louisiana. So one would assume it's outside of New Orleans, just because of the nature of where they are. John, I want to ask you a question before we go to Rob. Did you find it funny that, this is not like a political statement, I don't want to get all construed, but America now is a lot of it's based, really North America right now is based on, you can't rely on the government. You got to put yourself on your bootstraps and you got to ask for help, whether it's, GoFundMe and all that stuff, because he basically asked for favors. He's like, I can't rely on the government, but I got to ask my friends for
his
stuff.
Family favors. Yep.
But that's like one of those things where you're like, oh man, again, whether a superhero or a regular person, you got to do it on your own. And I found it interesting that they went that route. It's like, I'm just calling favors to get this boat. It's like, you couldn't call Tony.
Yeah, I thought for a second he was like, well, Tony's gone. Tony's gone, right?
Yeah, he's still an Avenger. Like, he couldn't get like a corporate sponsorship deal, like an Avenger with a Pepsi logo on it, and be like, okay, I'll be Pepsi.
Yeah, that's a different way. But I think that is the character that they've created for Sam Wilson, that he is going to cash in favors that are kind of like owed to him. Like his family did this for the community, and now the community, he wants them to give back. It's just such a great use of like this character's philosophy, that he didn't go to Pepper Potts, or I don't know who he would try to get like to cash in, or asked
Happy Hogan,
or Ant-Man or something to come fix this boat or something like that. He wanted to do it on his own. He wanted to get up early in the morning and take apart the the water pump and all that kind of stuff. And then he takes help from Bucky, who's his friend, who who shows up to help, right? He probably tried to turn him away, type thing, right? So yeah, I thought that was well done.
Yeah, I think that to this people complaining about a little too slow, this is what we talked about in episode 1. Can they jam everything in, and can they have closure? And we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, we were worried that wasn't going to cycle back. We were worried that was just a plot point in episode 1 that wasn't going to have any consequence, and they bring it all back. So it clearly looks like they have that line of plot points that they're connecting all back together. So I'm very confident that the final episode is going to deliver.
So last question before I go to Rob. Power broker ? Is it Sharon Carter? Because it's really looking more and more like
we established it's Steve Buscemi.
I in my fan casting hope it's Steve Buscemi, but like as of right now, it looks like it's kind of her, which would be
it
weird.
Appears so, because she's on the phone and sets up the whole Batroc thing. Which, damn, he comes back. Like, this is so crazy. I don't want to take away too many from the other guys. So, yeah.
No, it's fine. But like, everyone has their own thoughts. But when she said, when you took me out of an Algerian prison, I was like, it's Batroc. Like, I knew immediately when that was like, this is what's going down. But it is, it's kind of an Andre, and I'll take his point, lazy writing. If it's Sharon Carter as the power broker, it's like, really? That's what you're gonna do? You're just gonna put her up? Like, you couldn't come up with something different? Like, it's just.
Well, I think the problem with that, with having a Sharon Carter, is that she was like a CIA agent.
Yeah.
And then she, at the end of, I don't remember what movie it was. She went training for the FBI, and then all of a sudden, she gets exiled, and somehow she's like some James Bond 007 type, agent. And now you're saying that like that's a meteoric rise in a power level, right? That doesn't jive with her original.
Again, she said that she wasn't there in the blip. So if she was and all her mental faculties and everything there, she could have figured it out while the 5 years.
In 5 years?
Yeah.
When your boss says to you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm going to tell you right now that that's a massive increase.
Yeah, but Rob, when your boss says that and you say 50% of your rivals disappear in one moment's time, that's a different story.
Wait, like, I actually do say that.
If 50% of my rivals disappear, the world falls apart, the governments don't know what to do, and I can just jump into this void of power. Then there are many world examples of business people and world leaders who stepped into a vacuum of like, this is an opportunity, and then just took over. This is
for the record, the most correct way to answer that question for those listening is if your boss says, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" You say, "Well, are you planning on being here?" That always really works out well.
I like your chair, Mr. Boss.
Brutal. Yeah. Brutal. No. Okay, so Rob, I know you'll talk about the Contessa, but Rob, give us your thoughts on the episode, because clearly John didn't care at all about
the surprise cameo that the internet's got to calm down with these whole like clickbait things, or we just got to stop clicking them. But yeah, you got to calm down. But yeah, the cameo, it was cool to see, but so much other stuff going on in the episode.
Apparently, because the movie spoiled it, or this show spoiled the movie, because she's supposed to be Black Widow.
Yeah,
and then it comes out where you see her again.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot, because
it's kind of what Andre said before. It's like this show was supposed to come out before WandaVision, so like the way the things are just directed are a little bit off. I'm sure if you had to redo it afterwards and do it in order, you would say watch Black Widow first. Mm-hmm. Then watch this, then watch WandaVision, and then therefore things will kind of make a little more sense. But again, COVID. So Rob, give us your thoughts.
So listen, I enjoy the episode. I still think last week's was a bit better for me, but I do agree with all the points that John hit on. Like I like the fact that Sam Wilson goes back to his home. I mean, I don't, I'm paraphrasing that, what people say, but you have to know where you come from to know where you're going. And I think it's always important to see a character ground themselves, especially when you're a high level person like he is. He's an Avenger, right? You're facing otherworldly alien monsters and extra dimensional. Right, exactly. So he's, I think it was important to kind of ground himself back. I like the when I was watching, the episode, and you see him and Bucky are talking, and they're not really friends. And I keep thinking to myself, like, they only are really know each other through one person, and then they actually reference that in the show. It's like we're not really friends. We kind of just know a guy, and they're like, yeah, and that guy is no longer around. And I'm like, right. So I guess we kind of know each other. So I was like, okay, I'm glad, because there are moments where it's like they seem to actually care for each other, and there are other moments where like they couldn't give a piss about each other. Like Bucky is very much like, I'm out of here. Don't bother me here. I got that for you. See you later. So I like the dynamic on them. I like the dynamic of when Bucky goes in the morning and he finds Sam working on a coupling, and he goes, here, you got to use this wrench. And then Sam's like, why wouldn't you have just used your arm? And he goes, I'm right-handed. like, to the fact, like, it was just very funny to me, right? Obviously his left arm being the power arm. So I liked all of that. I'm a little curious about this whole Sharon Carter thing, calling in Batroc. We didn't get a lot of the flag smashers in this episode, which except for a little bit of a tease, I guess, to what's coming. The whole court martial process with John Walker was interesting. It was okay. It was fine. He's obviously, there's something not right. I mean, he refers to himself as Captain America, and I think we discussed this a couple episodes ago, where the weight of that name is just impossible to bear, and he is failing, and he's a guy that does not like to fail. So it's almost like he's almost convincing himself that he is Captain America to be able to step into that shadow, or out of that shadow, but into that role, right? So and I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but the cameo by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, first of all, I don't know who she is in the comics, this Contessa, whatever.
Andre will tell us momentarily. Well,
yeah, I figured, and that's kind of like when I saw it, I was like, oh, well, I used to know that Andre will let me know. First of all, she did an amazing job. I read an article where Wyatt Russell had no idea that she was in the show. And in fact, I believe that she walked in on that scene acting, and he had no clue they said, oh, we have somebody that's coming in. It's going to be a special, this and that. And she just started rhyming off the lines, and he was sitting there. And I think his reaction is kind of you're very confused, like, why are you here type thing. So I thought that was kind of, listen, whatever role she's playing, she nailed it, right? I mean, I'm a big Julia Louis-Dreyfus fan. I'm obviously Elaine from Seinfeld, if you're old enough to remember that, but Veep is hilarious, right? And so she's done a lot of great roles, maybe not the one with Will Ferrell a couple years ago, but overall, I mean, I really liked it. I really like how they've set up it's a series finale is what they're calling it. So there is no more, episode 2 or season 2 Falcon and Winter Soldier. I like where it's going. I agree with John that the Rocky training montage is a lot of fun. When I'm watching that though, I'm thinking like, how is he catching that shield? Because that thing's whipping back at you. And to be very honest with you, like, that would scare me. This thing is whipping back at me, and I don't have.
It almost takes his head off a couple times.
I don't have super strength to be able to catch something. It's like, have you ever had somebody who's a AAA ball player throw you a pitch, and you've got a glove, and you're like, I've caught 1,000 pitches from people, but not from a AAA ball player, and I'm really afraid it's going to rip my arm off. Like, there's that moment, that sense of fear, and I was like, man, this guy, I don't know how he's doing it. But yeah, man, overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was an important episode to ground the character, to see where we're going. Obviously, we got that tease with Sam opening up the Wakandan briefcase, and we don't know. I was kind of hoping to be a yellow light, a la Quentin Tarantino, and then to see John Walker in the mid-credit scene, doing his best Tony Stark impression of hammering out and making what may just be the worst shield in there. It looks so bad. His tack welding, tack welding metals onto the inside of the shield, which I don't know if he thinks is going to last very long, because it doesn't look very sturdy. But at any rate.
Hey man, he's got some strength. You know, you don't know what's going on. He might have learned some folding techniques and whatnot. We'll see what happens. You know, in terms of his super strength. Shout out first off to Julia Louis-Dreyfus and one of my favorite shows, the New Adventures of Old Christine. It's a banger if you haven't seen it, with Agent Coulson himself. Clark Gregg plays her ex-husband who marries a new Christine, thus Julia Louis-Dreyfus being the old Christine, and he plays a bumbling, like, he's so good in that, and it just makes you forget that, oh yeah, he's a badass in Coulson. But nonetheless, it's interesting you kind of talk about they're switching with this mid-credit scene in as they're going towards the end of the series. You know, to John mentioning, you know, this is a limited series. This is not, or a mini series. This is not a regular TV show. So I think we have to put it on par with those other mini series because they know how much they're spending. They know what's going to be in there. There's a little more ramp up time. So our expectations should be higher than a regular TV show. And so I'm
well, it's interesting story that you say that, because I would like way down the road when we know that there's no season, if these are just one and done seasons, I would love to like take this show, WandaVision, Watchmen, that was a one and done, you know, Chernobyl. Like I want to know, does it match the level of those other shows? Or is it just a really great continuation? So it's very interesting. Like, and I'm not making any judgments now because the show is not over. But is it on par with those other, you know, mini series that are just, you know, between 4 to 6 episodes, and that's all you get, right? Yeah.
So to your point, Rob, I have a question for you. Zemo.
Okay.
Zemo. So we get I don't know if it's the end of him. Yep, as we dance, the clapping in the background as he dances back and forth. As he gets taken away by the Dora Milaje, it does indicate that he's being. I thought when it was happening, she's like taken to Wakanda, but when she said the raft, I'm like, does that mean what I think I mean? Like, what is you taking to the raft?
Well, I thought that was really interesting as well. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think it is the last that we see him in the show, or do you think we're too much teasing, like, oh, it's Thunderbolts, it has to be Thunderbolts, or is this, in your perspective, is that just the end, we never see him again?
No, I think we'll definitely see
in this series.
Yeah, we'll definitely see Baron Zemo again in this series. No, you have 1 episode left. You have to deal with the Flag Smashers. You have to deal and address with the Power Broker in some capacity. Also, the Sharon Carter. Like, you can't just leave that thread hanging the way it was set up in this episode 5. And then you got to deal with the John Walker. You've got 4 main threads that have to be tied. To throw in, my opinion, to shoehorn in or throw in something with Zemo, unless you see it's a small clip of him walking into the raft, then yeah, if you're setting that up. But to have any further storyline with him, I think he's done in this show, aside from a potential small little clip at a mid-credit scene, let's just say. And I'm cool with that. He had he came in at the end of episode 2 as a small little tease at the end of that episode. He had 3, 4, and then he left in this one. And yet I felt like it was good, right? Like it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel like we didn't get shortchanged on it. And it is a satisfying little mini arc for him as a character. So I'm cool with that.
Did he kind of turn himself in? Because he kind of tells Bucky where he's going to be, right? He's like, have you guys ever gone to the monument in Sokovia or whatever? And then he's there kind of waiting for him. So he kind of, he kind of turning himself in.
He would find him eventually, but again,
it'd be a long wait. He'd be like, "Oh my god, I've been here for 4 days." This guy,
but he drops that hint earlier, which is kind of neat. I was like, "Oh, is he basically saying, hey, come find me here?"
No, I think it's about a respect thing. It's like, guys, do you know what you did to my country? And there was a monument. Have you been there? Do you know it exists? Of course not. You've not been there. So it's like, again, it's showing that at the end of the day, he's still honoring his people and those who died during that Avengers event. Like, again, it's setting up the narrative of like, he doesn't believe he's a bad guy. He's just trying to stop superhumans from being like the Red Skull and the fanaticism that follows. It's like someone that charismatic, like the Red Skull, like Steve Rogers, like, look, Steve has these 2 dudes that will run through a wall for him, and eventually the other Avengers. How many times have he in Civil War Day, he's like, I'm doing something else, and all of a sudden he had 6 superheroes just be like, yep, we're with you. Like, anytime he could flip the switch and all of a sudden we'd be in big trouble. So that is what his mindset is like. We can't allow this to happen, and I'm stopping it, because if you don't, people die, including the people. Not only did his family die, the whole country disbanded. He lost a country, a title.
Yeah.
His people got gobbled up by other things. Like, that is the ramifications if you let superheroes kind of just do whatever they want. So it
Can
is.
we also just give give Carl Lumbly the Emmy nomination?
Mantis?
At this point, because I agree with what John said. It was heartbreak to see him reliving those stories through, and
Yeah, and they didn't even flash back. He just
I
told
was about
a
to
story.
say that. Yeah, I was like,
They didn't have to show anything.
I
He
really
told it.
expected there to be some weird flashback, or
Yeah, they could have thrown him in a costume and did something, but they didn't. They kept it like nice.
So give him the Emmy Award, man, because that guy.
He basically just read the comic book. It's like, here's the synopsis of red, white, and black, and like, here you go. Read this synopsis of the comic book, and we're good to go. So yeah, no, I was hoping that he turn into Martian Manhunter and be like, ha, here we go. But it is what it is. Andre, what are your Rob mutes himself. Andre, what are your thoughts?
What pretty much what everybody else said, so I'll try and keep it short and sweet. This particular episode, in my humble opinion, is the best piece of
every week is the best one, Andre.
Let me okay, first of all, it's the best episode that so far. However, I think this is the best piece of cinema of work that Marvel has produced, period. So it's one of these things that, of course, you can't get here without what went before, but this particular episode does everything that a comic book, a story, a TV show, a movie, all of these things should do. It had action, it had character development, it had it had messages. We just talked about the Isaiah Bradley thing. It was poignant. It educated and it uplifted. It is everything. It's as real as they have ever gotten. And I got to give props to not only the creative, the writing team and the talent, but I also I got to give points to Disney and Marvel for putting this story out. Isaiah Bradley has the best line in this. Any self-respecting black man will not want to be Captain America. Man, that's TKO, man. You're gone. You're knocked out, right? And you think about it and you're like, well, shit, Sam's not going to do it. But then he talks to his sister, and his sister says, Sam, you were never running away. We fought the battle here, but you went and took that battle elsewhere. You're fighting for people. Are you going to let somebody else's experience dictate who you are? Holy shit, that's the guy, the comeback kid. He picked himself up off the mat. And he's like, yeah, no, I can make the change. We can't evolve. We cannot learn to understand other people if we don't try. If we don't dust ourselves off, pick ourselves up, and I hate to say it, but look at what's going on in the world right now, not only in the United States, but things are happening here in Canada. Things are happening all over the world where people are just being rotten and evil to people and stuff. And unless communities reach out and say, no, I'm human too. I bleed the same blood you bleed. Right. And this is that. So they're taking stuff, and we can say, yeah, it should have come out last year, but I'm almost glad it came out now, because we can't regress and take all the bad stuff that's happening to minorities and say, okay, fine, we're not going to deal with the rest of the world. We are going to isolate again. No, bad shit's happening, but we still have to reach out and we have to get past it. And I think this is a perfect kind of story, and showing that you can do this. It's showing all sides of the coin. We're seeing what the Flag Smashers think is the only way, right? And to their mindset, it is. To her mindset, it is. But then now you've got Sam's going to do it another way. And then you've got the government thinking we're going to do it another way by relocating stuff. So these are all real issues, but it's wrapped up in this kind of action and comic book setting, but it's there. And again, like I said, props for them for doing it. I can't say enough about the character development and the writing that they've done. Every character had their things. John Walker's moments, holy crap. Like, look at what he said in that hearing. You made me. You set me out. You. I've done everything you asked. And then they're gonna rein him in, and he should be thankful that they stripped him of who he is and not given him a court-martial. Hell yeah, if that was any one of us, we're building a shield, or we're taking back what we think not only we deserve, but what we've dedicated our lives to. So here we have a character that you're not supposed to like, but you empathize with, and you can see why he would do that. And we get that, post-credit scene where he's building a shield. Sure, at a certain point, I'm like, I don't know how he's supposed to build the shield, but I'm going to throw that away. Who cares? This is leading up to this climactic battle that's going to be in New York. And then we see Bucky's going to figure out there. He's got his CIA liaison's going to go there. Sam Wilson figured out he's going to go there. That is going to be the clash. And look, everybody thought this show didn't have any runway. This show tarmacked a whole new runway. There's nothing left out of this show. And they still have the 1 hour left to wrap it all up.
An hour.
Like,
yeah.
This again, this is magnificent. This is everything I have wanted the Marvel Universe to be, everything I knew it could be, and yet they've managed to deliver it only 3 times. Listen, I'm not saying the comedic stuff is bad. I'm not saying, the other stuff is, but it just hasn't hit maybe they're solid doubles, but that guy can hit triples and home runs any day of the week, but he's just, I'm just doing what I'm doing, right? But this is it. And I hope people are paying attention, and I hope people are recognizing it. I feel, I don't want to say I feel bad. That's not the right word, but this following up WandaVision and everyone talking about, oh, it's about loss and it's about this and it's about that. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Those writers couldn't write shit compared to this movie or this show, right? And it shows, dude, you can make that face. But again, WandaVision had 9 episodes, and look at what this did in 1 episode. That, again, the Isaiah Bradley thing alone, that gut punch upon gut punch. John talked about crying multiple times. I had tears multiple times. So it's a different level in this show compared to WandaVision.
I'm not saying that you're not correct, Andre. It's a superior writing show, but at the end of the day, the ratings are not as superior as WandaVision right now. So WandaVision still has more views. So it's kind of like it's just one thing where you don't know what to expect, because again, it's a very particular show. It's the same thing that when we had watching Netflix, there was a reverence for example, like Luke Cage. I love that show, but again, it's particular people like that style as opposed to watching Daredevil, and it is what it is. Like, again,
correct, but
you just have to. Hopefully, Marvel just makes what they make, regardless of who watches it. Because if they look at the numbers and they look at the internet imprints, WandaVision was getting more stuff than Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though Falcon and Winter Soldier is like second in the Nielsen ratings, right? Behind Georgia and Ginny. Or Ginny and Georgia.
At the end of the day, the Big Mac is the best selling hamburger, but we all know it's not the best hamburger. So ratings aside, whatever metrics they're using, if you can't recognize a gem, then you can't recognize a gem. So we could use whatever metrics we want, but there's this show by far, like I said, and listen, let me preface that. In my humble opinion, it is the best thing Marvel has made, period. Right? So I am looking forward to the finale. I'm looking forward to the reveal of Sam Wilson as Captain America. I like the fact that they, the symbolism is there, that the suit's coming from Wakanda. I like that. I like that everything is, kind of tied together and stuff. If you had told me when we started this or when we first heard that this show was coming out, that it would be this good, there would be no way I would believe you. But I'm just saying now.
Well, you did. You can look back at old episodes. You didn't, or old podcasts. You didn't believe it. You're like, it can't be that good. But
we thought it was going to be just an action fest.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to kind of jump onto what Andre said with respect to the comparing this to WandaVision. And I think, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Stu. I think that, with WandaVision having greater viewers in its total numbers so far, but I think that these are two different shows that speak to two different sets of people.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are listening who don't watch our YouTube video, I'm Caucasian. If it doesn't come through audibly,
Get out.
and yet I'm more this show, the inequality, the inequities speak more to me than the WandaVision stuff did for loss, because I've never had a companion. I've never lost a companion. I've lost friends, but I've never lost a companion. And yet there's a lot of people who really were attached to that because the idea of loss spoke to them because they've been there. So I think that both shows, as much as WandaVision wasn't like a home run for me, I think that what it did and how it said what it wanted to say was very good, was on par with what the social message of what this show is saying as well.
And to your point, Rob, to say that, like, again, this goes back to years ago when Spielberg and Lucas was like, this genre of superheroes is going to die out like Westerns because it's the same thing over and over. And yeah, I agree with you, Andre. Falcon and Winter Soldier is the superior in terms of storyline. But again, the themes are different. It's a different show completely. And if Marvel continues to do these different genre and different things, we won't get tired of superheroes.
Something for everybody, yeah.
Something
Do something for everybody.
sprinkling of, like, it's just not a dude with a gun fighting. Like WandaVision had basically almost no guns compared to this one, and no knife fighting. So like, it's
all the knives.
They had the ship of Theseus debate in that, like, forget, like, again, that is the best part of that show. Like, have you talked about the ship of Theseus? I'm like, holy cow, they're going this route.
Right.
So again, it different strokes for different folks, but if they continue doing this, and it's the whole thing, something for Andre, something for Rob, something for John, something for Stu, like, I like this, but my God, do I love time travel shows more than anything else. And for me, Loki could be the one where I'm like,
right. Yeah. No, I'm excited.
like,
I just want to clarify though, when I said that this speaks to me about inequities, I'm not saying I suffered from, like, I don't want the internet jumping down saying, you don't know what it's like. You're right. But I'm just saying that this as an idea, as a social commentary, I understand this more than that's all. I just don't want
of course.
Misconstruing my point.
Torres getting the wings was great at the end, and he's like,
I was gonna say, Stu, like, what do you feel? Your young Avengers, that you got basically 2 cameo.
Well, I don't know if he's a young Avenger, but he is something of Latin descent who is getting Falcon wings to tinker around. Like, one, he's
but also Isaiah Bradley's
like, it's
grandson or whatever. You got basically 2 like mini lead-ins.
They are leaking through, like, different characters to see what works and trying, because again, they recognize that these actors have deals, and some actors are leaving, and some, like Chris Helmsworth, is like, I'm never going. So like, it's a very
well, he doesn't age. He's got Paul Rudd's genes for some reason.
That dude is like, I'm Thor till you kick me out. I'm like, and I'll be old man Thor. I'm like, you know what?
I'll be the new Odin.
Some people, like, may not like Chris Helmsworth, but my God, like, if he just continues to, like, we're gonna continue filming Australia, he's like, I'm in, like, whatever you want. So some actors, like Chris Evans, is like, I need to do more things, and Chris Helmsworth is like, I'll be this forever. So we're Marvel's always going to be in the situation where they're going to have different actors.
He's our forever Thor.
Like, and some people come in and some people come out, and like, same thing with Mackie, and same with Sebastian Stan. They're not huge mega stars. They might just be like, you know what? If I keep on just doing this, we get to hang out in the Czech Republic for, like, for a month and just hang out with each other. Like, I'm in. Like, I don't need to do anything else. So I think it speaks volumes to the quality of work that they're getting, but also, like, you could tell that they were not in, like, a green screen when they're in the Czech Republic. They were in the Czech Republic.
They were. They got stranded there when the first pandemic hit.
It is not Vancouver. I can tell you right now, watching this, I'm like, oh, that's not Vancouver. That is Europe. So Disney has some money, and they're picking proper locations. And again, respect and shout outs to all of them doing what they're doing. But we're running out of time. But I do want to ask Andre, because who is the Contessa, or the Contessa. Oh God, the name is fully. What was the name?
Val something.
Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fonte. Who is that, Andre? She has a very checkered and interesting background. Can you tell us anything about her for those who want to know?
All right, so my first shall we say exposure to her was in reading the Nick Fury comics and stuff, and especially the series Nick Fury versus Shield, and the aftermath of that particular series. So she was a Shield agent, but she didn't begin as a Shield agent. She had a background in the espionage. I think it was for the Italian government. She was originally recruited to Shield by Dum Dum Dugan and stuff, but she does have a checkered past in that is maybe not her real name, her real status. There is notions that she is or was a Russian agent, but I know her best as basically Nick Fury's confidant, Nick Fury's lover, Nick Fury's stoic, staunch supporter. And when Shield goes down and he rebuilds Shield, it's her and Dum Dum and a couple other people that he rebuilds Shield with. But because she is such a great agent and stuff, at some point she did defect and was, I think, supposed to be looked at as a triple agent, or no, double agent. And she infiltrated Hydra and replaced, at that time, after killing the other Madam Hydra, she becomes Madam Hydra, but that's again to end up taking it down from within. So she's all over the place. Currently, I don't know where she is in the Marvel comic book realm, but she's definitely still around. And it's kind of ironic because tying back to Captain America and stuff is that there was almost like a little bit of a love triangle between Steve Rogers, Nick Fury's, and Val. Val hit on Nick Fury. I mean, hit on Steve Rogers to make Nick Fury jealous and stuff like that. And it was all a big thing. And Nick and Cap, got into fisticuffs over a woman. So it's some great stuff in the comic books. But I can highly recommend to you guys, if you not only like the show that you're watching now, but if you like the Winter Soldier movie, check out the graphic novel Nick Fury versus Shield. Fantastic. They pulled some elements for the Winter Soldier movie, quite a bit of them, from that trade paperback. And the following series, it was just called Shield, where Nick Fury puts together a hand-picked squad of Shield. He didn't want Shield to become this big bloated thing that got eaten away from within after the events of that series. So I hope that helps a little bit for people know a little bit about this character.
Sorry, did you say her real name is Martha?
No, I did not say that. No. Because she's not Nick Fury's mother. Nick Fury's
the
mother
Russian.
is named Martha.
It's the Russian equivalent as
Marta.
Yeah, Martha. If you watched Agent Carter and you recognize that Leviathan was the Russian kind of Hydra, there are potential themes that Black Widow will discuss, that there's another super powered organization out there that is doing it and doing things behind the scenes. But yeah, they did mention that was everyone has their secret organization or their own Weapon X. So this is not a surprise that Russia would have its own thing right now. So
this is dangerous territory for Black Widow, though, because it's been built up for so long. It has the very real potential for not living up to what we are currently watching. Everything that Andre is saying is
I think Taskmaster will live up to all of it. The fight sequences I've seen so far from the trailers, you're like, ooh, Taskmaster doing everything. So I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I know, but you know what John was mentioning about the stunt work and the fight choreography and this and that, and you go back and you watch these Black Widow trailers, and you juxtapose it to the recent Fast and Furious 9 trailer that we got, and they're very similar in terms of the overuse of special effects. Whereas this show that we've been watching, that hand-to-hand combat is void of any special effects. You are looking at classic, fisticuffs,
wire
right?
work
So
in martial arts.
Right. So it is a very, I do wonder the relevancy of Black Widow and how we are going to look at it, because this show has definitely raised the bar for Marvel properties that we're watching.
And was it supposed to come? Falcon Winter Soldier was supposed to come out before Black Widow, correct?
After.
Oh,
No,
it's supposed to come
right
out
after.
after?
after. Yeah, Black Widow was supposed to be in May of 2020,
Mhm.
and this show was supposed to originally be August or September of 2020. And then everything shut down with the pandemic, so they had to stop filming for almost 6
Yeah.
months.
Because
Yeah.
Variety posted an article afterwards saying that they had big plans for Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the MCU. Like that was like the secret is out because she showed up here, but she was supposed to show up in Black Widow.
So
first.
people are supposed to know who she is from Black Widow,
Yes,
not
100%.
from this. See,
Yes.
they're screwed because there's no. Again, I'm
They're
calling
not
it now.
screwed. They're fine.
Hold on.
They're
Let
fine.
me. In Andre's opinion, they're screwed because there's no way that Black Widow the movie is going to be as good as this, because this is 6 hours of stuff. Black Widow's only got 2 hours maybe and change to tell a story. It's not even relevant because it's set in the past, right? I want it to be good because to me, I really believe that Scarlett Johansson deserves, she's been in every movie. Well, not every movie,
Yeah.
but she's been there since
No,
Iron
she's
Man
only been
2.
cast by Robert Downey Jr. by one movie.
Yeah.
There's only 2 storylines in that movie, Andre. One,
But, okay,
Black Widow
regardless,
is like
I'm
going
just-
back to like get the other Black Widow, and then it's like that's pretty much like there's one Black Widow storyline that has to wrap up, and the other one, and then you're good. Like they're
It's introducing Florence Pugh as the new Black Widow for the future.
And frankly, we saw Black Widow in like 4 other movies, so we know who she is. There's no backstory. It's like I'm going home to see family, and then she's.
I don't know. You know what?
It's going to be hard.
You can-
I think expectations are going to be hard for.
You
when
can
it
say
drops.
there's
an
no
action
more
movie.
story to tell, but she's a character that we don't know too much about, although she's been there all the time. We've had hints and nods, and all I'm saying is the amount of backstory and actual character that we're getting out of Sam Wilson and Bucky, right? I think she deserves it, and we're not going to get it in this movie 100%. And she's already gone. We know Natasha Romanoff is dead because of Infinity War, and I'm just saying, listen. The movie could be fantastic, could be uber great, whatever. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be as good as this series. And how could it be? Because this series is twice as long, maybe 3 times as long. So I think, unfortunately, it might be not too little, too late, but just the timing. And like Rob said, I think people are.
You got to
maybe
equate it
gonna
to
be
other.
too
It's not going to hit as hard. It's not going to hit as hard as if it
But
originally came out.
you're not
before this.
equating this miniseries again to John's point in the very beginning of the pod. It's like 22 episodes of The Flash is not the same equivalent as 6 episodes of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like they're just different categories. The same thing with the movie. You can't equate, the Black Widow movie to 6-hour miniseries because again, they're different formats. Just like you can't equate the Clone Wars or the original Tartakovsky television show, which I love, the cartoon series, to the CGI show. They're just way different in different constrictions and timelines.
Maybe you can't do it. I can definitely do it because that's my
Well,
prerogative.
let's say the impact. I think Andre's got on the head
you
with
can
the
do
impact.
it, but like
I think it's not going to hit.
Yeah,
as hard
you're
as it
grading it differently. Like it's the same thing. The categories of Oscars and Emmys, there's a reason why they separate them and they don't put them all in one thing. So it's like there's an animated category, there's a regular miniseries category. If they're not judged the same way for awards, then I can say, well, they're separate. So yeah, you can do it, but again,
for those wondering at home, yes, this was Rob who had stirred the pot.
so that's my only thing about it. It's like if they're not eligible in the same awards category, then in my mind they're separate. So that's it. We're gonna go off as we're running out of time. Andre, you already did a little bit of I Have Spoken, but I'm gonna give you a few more seconds right now to tell us something that we should pick up or something that's cool.
All right, so for this I Have Spoken, it's another comic book. Lo and behold, I'm a comic book guy, and we've got a comic and hobby store, but I think this comic everybody needs to be put on their radar and they need to check out. It's the newest series featuring the son of Superman and the son of Batman, and this one is called Challenge of the Super Sons. And this is a great book for not only kids but adults who want something fun. And hey, look, we're back on lockdown, kids aren't back to school. Let's get kids reading and excited about something. Comics did that for me as a kid, and they continue to do that. So introduce your kids to comics, and I think this is a fantastic way to do it. Written by fan favorite Peter Tomasi, who was the originator of this series, with new art. I think the artist is something Rayner, May Rayner, I think.
Kyle.
Getting that, not Kyle Rayner. Yeah, but again, this follows the adventures of young Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent.
Yeah, Max Rayner.
The sons of the Max. Is it Max Rayner?
Max Rainer, yeah.
Yeah, Max. Sorry about the name, Max. And it's great. The art is colorful and fantastic. The guys get into trouble because they are preteens or teens. And Damian is hilarious because he literally thinks he's young Batman. Like, he's just super serious and stuff. And Jonathan Kent is just this lighthearted boy entering his power. So this is their third series, but you don't need to read the other ones. And this one is only going to be a 7-issue limited series. So put it on your radar, or if not, I was going to say come by and pick it up, but make arrangements with us because we're only doing curbside right now, or order it from your local comic book store if you are not in our neck of the woods.
Perfect. So Rob has jumped out, but Andre, John, where can we find you guys on the interwebs?
Yeah, so Heroes World Online, if you're on the social media, Facebook, the Instagram, and the website. Website, we're trying to add things as often as we can, so things will be popping up there, and that will be kind of, it'll filter down to the Facebook and the Instagram as well. So definitely check those out. And if you're on the YouTube, we're on our road to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 975 now, so we're 25 away. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and get at us in the comments and things like that. It's a lot of fun. We love to hear from you.
Awesome. And as Andre mentioned before, please support your local stores. He's already talked about location and whatnot and curbside. So Rob, where can the people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at _905, all spelled out as one word. You can find John and I Mondays live on YouTube at 8 o'clock. We do the Sidekick Show. And this week, I guess tomorrow, oh Lord, we are rewatching and discussing the 1995 movie Mortal Kombat. If John was talking about that
Mortal Kombat,
right, if John was talking about Winter Soldier and Falcon Winter Soldier having high level action scenes and fight choreography, those were missing in 1995. So definitely tune in as we discuss Mortal Kombat.
No, they weren't. They weren't missing. They were different.
No, they were. No, nope.
The technology wasn't there. The technology wasn't there. We're going to talk about it, but there's
fighting wasn't there.
Stunt choreographers and performers and things like that. I don't think they had the control that they have.
This was
now,
a time when you
because
picked
now
an
people
actor
appreciate
that
it.
was looked the part and they didn't have any martial arts and you just carried on. You're like, yeah, you look
This
like
is
it.
when you were like, hey, we're going to cash in on this phenomenon. Let's just throw $10 million at the picture and we'll make it a C-list movie. That's what you
Hey,
get
man,
from Mortal
the
Kombat.
star of Beverly Hills Ninja was part of Mortal Kombat. Let's not forget how good that
Robin Show.
The defense rests.
All right. Well, thank you all again for listening. Please, as always, support your local stores. If you can't, like, subscribe, as John mentioned, get us to that 1,000. That'd be much appreciative. Thank you so much. Be safe. We will be back next week with the final installment of John trying to struggle his way to tell us what happened but didn't happen. And also John hopefully finishing the gimmick by giving us some questions. So we'll see. We'll see.
I put all my effort into the summary, so
we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. And the sadness that's Andre knowing that the show is over and
I think it'll be a great
whether he's
package.
gonna hang it up or not. So we're hanging on pins and needles to see what happens. So thank you all for joining us. See you all next
Thanks,
week.
everybody.
Peace out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again.
Take care.
Bye.